librarian. And I'm not a cat owner right now, but usually that's how I think of myself. So yeah, I could be in a lot of different ways of cozy formations.
It's so like just Miss Marple though. You're like, I'm just knitting along, and then bam, I know who the killer is. Don't you worry.
I knew when I saw the body. I was just hoping the police would get there first because this takes me away from what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's 4:01. We're all live, so let's roll.
Let's roll. Okay. Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Drea Douglas. I am the learning coordinator at the North Bend Public Library, which is one of the Coastline Libraries. And Coastline Libraries has their annual tidal wave right now. Welcome. And our author this year is Ellie Alexander. And if you live in the Coos or Curry County areas, you've probably been following along, maybe getting some cookies at the library or doing the scavenger hunt. But wherever you are, if you're here today, it's because you want to hear the mystery that Ellie has written that was crowdsourced with the help of people that were checking in and answering. And, she would ask things like, well, who's the victim? Who finds the body? And of course, what are we eating? Because it's a cozy. And Ellie, if you're not familiar with Ellie Alexander, and if you're not familiar with her by now, okay, welcome. But Ellie Alexander is the author of a few different cozy mystery series, including the Bake Shop series set in Ashland, and I always want to call it the Brew House series, but it's not. It's the name. It's the character's name series.
Set up. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And at any rate, and so there's always some sort of recipe. There is always some sort of discussion of a coffee wheel, and of course there's always a body. So right now, since we've had her crowdsource this, and she has taken our answers and gone away to write a mystery, but she's only written so far because she's only had a week. Also, she needs our help still because she has some more questions. We can only solve this together. So once Ellie is finished, feel free to unmute and show your faces and give answers. It's a work in progress. We all need to be there for it. So with that, Ellie Alexander, welcome. Thank you so much for being our our tidal wave author.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been just a delight this last month or so of getting to be at the coast virtually in my head. In fact, I sometimes when I blow dry my hair, I straighten it, but I have my beach hair today. It's like I've just been out at the coast. I was walking, it's a little wind blown. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm so ready. I thought we could recap a little bit. So everybody chose a librarian as our sleuth, which makes sense, right?
I suggested a vet.
Wait, what did you suggest?
I suggested the vet.
The vet. Okay, the vet. Well, the vet didn't make this one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Next time. We'll kill off the vet next. It is taking place during the August Blackberry Festival. We're going to feature Blackberry Cobbler in this particular spin-off. We have a very cantankerous celebrity chef who will be involved, which I always love. And it's going to take place at Shore Acres, which I had just been to for spring break for the first time. And for anyone who is not in Oregon, when you come to Oregon, you must go see this part of the coast because it is absolutely stunning. In fact, I had a hard time not wanting to just dive deep into those descriptions, and I'm like, oh, that's right, we have to write this together. So but I do think before I get to the pages, I'll tell the title right before I read them. I think one thing that is so great about this experience, this idea of collaborating, and I see some familiar faces who have done this with me before, so thank you for coming back, kind of came out because of COVID. I was trying to think of something to do to keep my mind from spinning. And I thought, oh, I used to love choose your own adventure books as a kid. We could do this together. And one huge revelation for me in this process is that writing is so singular most of the time. And there's such incredible energy that comes from collaborating when you're talking about any sort of creative endeavor. So I just, I'm so thrilled that you're all willing to do this for me, because doing this sparks my own writing and then reading too. So I'm excited. So as I'm reading this, think about, you know, who done it, basically. Okay, so this is titled Wined, Dined, and Brined, which is what you all came up with as a title, which is killer, can I just say. All right, here we go. A warm August breeze hit my face as I walked along the cliffside. The aroma of blackberries and a salty brine filled the air. I was late, so there was no time to stop and take in the majestic view of the Pacific Ocean slamming into the rocky shoreline below. But I couldn't resist one quick glimpse of the crashing waves sending spray 30 feet into the air. Focus, Sammy, I cautioned myself. I said there are going to be some Easter eggs for you. Today is a big deal. I don't want to blow it. With that thought in mind, I hurried toward the entrance to Shore Acres Botanical Gardens. Every time I visited the gardens, I felt like I was stepping into the pages of a fairy tale. Pathways cut through the ornate lawns, surrounded by topiaries and fountains and a symphony of gorgeous blooms. Hummingbirds flitted from flower to flower. I made a beeline for the pavilion with its massive white columns and rustic timber exterior. The space had been transformed for the weekend. Usually it housed a gift shop for visitors, but this weekend was the annual Coos Bay Blackberry Arts Festival. And as part of the festival, the library had landed a major coup. We were hosting celebrity chef Paul Al Dente for a cooking demonstration in the gardens. Paul Al Dente, okay, so if anyone isn't familiar with a cozy, like, you know that it's supposed to be kind of punny, right? Okay, I hope you know that, like, this is intentional. Al Dente would be creating his world famous blackberry cobbler from natively grown wild organic Oregon blackberries. And the Pastry Channel was going to be here in our little coastal community to document the process live. I could feel my stomach start to swirl with nerves as I got closer to the pavilion. The coastline libraries were partnering with the Pastry Channel and Paul on the event, and I had been selected to host the interview. I'd interviewed plenty of authors in my day, but never a celebrity chef. And Al Dente had a reputation for being cutthroat. Sammy, where have you been? My friend and fellow librarian, Haley, called. She was in the front of the pavilion waving me forward. Hurry, Paul is waiting for us. And I think if we're not careful, he's gonna end up whipping out his fillet knife. Sorry, I sucked in a breath through my nose as I picked up my pace to stay in line with her. Haley gave me a quick squeeze. Okay, sorry, Sammy, don't sweat it. You're gonna do great. Just remember, don't get in Paul's line of fire. How do I do that? She pushed me inside. Just imagine you're dealing with toddler story hour. He's basically a walking temper tantrum. Before I could back away, NB, the digital director for the library, spotted me. Oh, good, Sammy, you're here. Let me get you mic'd. I gulped back my nerves as NB positioned a lapel mic on my blouse. Knock 'em dead, Sam, he said as he motioned to the crew that we were ready to shoot. I turned to see a portly man standing behind me. He was dressed in his white chef's coat and tall hat, and he was wielding a wooden spoon in one hand. This is unacceptable. I didn't sign on for amateur hour. Let's get this show going, people. Sorry, I mumbled under my breath. NB held up his finger. Hey, Sammy, can you talk again? I'm not getting great sound. Test, test. I spoke into my chest. No, that sounds pretty good. NB pressed his headphones tight over one ear. Hey, Paul, can you give me a sound check too? What is your name? Paul shot back, raising the wooden spoon like he intended to smack NB in the face. NB. What kind of name is NB? What's your real name, kid? North Bend. Ha! Paul threw his head back. North Bend, you're named after a town? I noticed NB's face flame with color. He was a sweet kid. We'd recently hired him to manage our digital programming. He had grown up in North Bend and returned home after recently graduating from Oregon State. Like Al dente's any better, NB muttered under his breath. I knew that he was sensitive about his name. His dad had been North Bend's mayor for over 20 years and had named his only son after his beloved city. Some people around town like to joke that they weren't sure if the mayor loved North Bend or his son more. It had to be uncomfortable for NB. What did you say? Paul took a step forward and held the spoon tighter. Nothing. NB hung his head. That's right, kid. Don't you dare look at me, or I'll have you fired. Technically speaking, only Haley, our library director, could fire NB, but Paul's threat had clearly rattled him. He let his headphones fall around his neck and stared at the floor. Haley went to help him. Her tone was too low for me to hear, but I suspected that she was probably telling him not to sweat it. What had I gotten myself into? A woman wearing thick, oversized black glasses and a tailored black pantsuit approached me. I'm Drea, Paul's agent. Did you read over the list of rules I sent for you? I did, I nodded. The list of rules could have stretched from Coos Bay to Bandon. They included things like always addressing Paul by his full name and making sure that his left side was in profile. Excellent, then we shouldn't have any issues, Drea snapped before stealing a glance at Paul, who shook his head at her and made a slicing motion across his neck with the spoon. Then he clapped twice. Let's do this, people. I want to get this done. I don't trust any of you. Librarians know way too much and everyone's secret search history. I stepped next to him, feeling the heat of the overhead studio lights glaring down on us. Welcome, friends of the library. We're so happy to be hosting world-renowned chef Paul Al Dente for today's baking segments. Paul, I believe you're going to be using our coastal blackberries in your dish. Cut! Paul hollered at the top of his lungs. He waved Drea over with 2 fingers. I thought you said you sent her the rules. I am so over you never doing your job. I am done with you, Drea. You are dead. Paul, stop. I did send her your list and I confirmed it. She narrowed her eyes at me. She did. I bit my bottom lip. Then why the hell did you just address him as Paul? Did I? I grimaced and looked to Haley, who nodded. It's Paul Al Dente. Understood? Drea held my gaze. Yeah, I got it. We reshot the introduction. This time I made sure to emphasize Paul Al Dente. Things improved slightly as the chef began baking his signature blackberry cobbler. We were halfway through the bake, though, when he flew off the handle again. Where are my blackberries? He swept his hand over his workstation. I had a container of blackberries right here. NB spoke up. Sir, there's a giant bowl of blackberries to your left. I know that, you idiot. I had a special container of farmers market berries that I want to show a close-up of. Who took them? Yeah, who took them? Drea spoke up and parroted Paul. Haley raised her finger. Oh, actually, that might be my fault. We had a little mishap when NB and I were taking some shots for the library's social media, but don't worry, I brought a bunch of extra berries just in case we needed props. I'll go grab some. She left. We kept filming while Haley retrieved the berries. I was certainly not a fan of Paul Al Dente, but his blackberry cobbler looked and smelled amazing. He had elevated the cobbler by making a shortbread with touches of cinnamon, cardamom, and freshly zest orange and lemon. He had added a touch of flaked sea salt and a healthy sprinkling of coarse sugar. Then he macerated the berries in sugar, a splash of red wine, and added vanilla bean paste and more citrus. The pavilion smelled heavenly. And surprisingly, my stomach had finally stopped flip-flopping. Paul removed a bubbling ramekin of the cobbler from the oven as Haley showed up with a fresh carton of blackberries. Her cheeks were flushed and her forehead was damp with sweat. She spoke in short, stilted sentences, like she was trying to catch her breath. Sorry, I couldn't find them anywhere. I left them in the storage area, but then I found them outside. Isn't that weird? I don't care. Paul yanked the container from her hand and proceeded to hold a ripe, juicy blackberry up for a camera close-up. Listen, home bakers, this is why you always buy market fresh. Look at this beauty. He paused for the camera to pan closer. Then he popped the berry into his mouth, and nothing compares with the taste. He closed his eyes and placed his hand across his neck. At first, I thought it was a show of revelry for the berry, but his hand cinched tighter. A strange purplish color washed across his face. And then in a flash, he made a grunting sound and dropped to the floor. I froze. Was this part of the show? Drea ran over and fell to her knees. She checked for a pulse and tried to pry Paul's hands from his neck. Someone do something. He's not breathing. He's dead. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. There we have it. That Paul Al Dente, I tell you.
I will, for those who don't know, Paul Addis, not Al Dente, but Paul Addis is a librarian at Coos Bay. Sammy is a librarian at Coos Bay and is here. I honestly thought the shout out for North Bend was not going to be me, but NB. And so, well, we know I didn't do it. So I'm curious though, who do you suspect of doing this, Ellie? Who should we be looking at funny?
I have no idea. That's what we got to figure out together. Yeah. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to talk through. So Sammy's our sleuth. Sammy is the librarian who was late on the job too. Wow, Sammy. Rushing. You're trying to take that last beautiful glimpse of the ocean. So Sammy's our librarian. We could make her the killer too. I mean, we could flip this cozy completely upside down. Paul Al Dente is the victim. He's clearly dead. He has been poisoned. We might suspect by blackberry, but perhaps something else nefarious is in the mix. So we currently have 3 suspects. We have Haley, who is our librarian who's directing the show. And as a recap, the blackberries that Paul had set aside went missing, and Haley left to go find them and found them outside. So that's slightly suspicious. We have Drea as a suspect. She is Paul's agent and manager, who he basically threatened to kill and is done with. And then we have poor NB, who is in the line of fire, and who has been mortified in front of everybody. So we already have some potential motives, I feel like. But my first question that I want everyone to answer with all 3 suspects is, we need them all to be lying about something. So let's start with Haley. What could Haley be lying about? Think on that.
Also, another Easter egg here. Haley is the director at the North Bend Library.
Actually, and you can chime in if you have a thought for Drea and NB too. We're gonna talk about what each one of them is lying about or hiding. They've all got to have some kind of a secret.
She could be lying about where she found the blackberries.
I like it, Susan. Okay, so Haley's lying about where she found the blackberries. Good.
I think she's lying and she used to date Paul Al Dente.
Okay, we can have more than one. Uh-huh. I didn't hear that. Anyone have thoughts on Drea, our agent who is trying to manage Paul's career?
She's probably a long-suffering manager.
Oh, definitely a long suffering. Absolutely, Jane.
She's lying about her hair color and also her prior experience.
Oh, okay. Hair color and experience. I like that.
That's low.
What about what he's already told her, that he's getting rid of her for making her come to his little town?
Yeah. Yeah. Why has he had to stoop so low? This obviously celebrity chef, Paul Al Dente, the name alone tells us, to come to Coos Bay in North Bend. Oh, please. So beneath him. Okay, and then let's talk about our little guy in North Bend.
Yeah.
What could he be lying about?
Well, let me see. He was at Oregon State, so he's been away.
He's been away, right?
You know.
Are we sure he was at Oregon State?
Right.
Oh.
He could have been at U of O.
Oh, there we go.
Maybe he's not as vulnerable as he pretends to be.
Mm-hmm.
Putting up a show. And North Bend High School, for real, has a culinary institute.
Oh, okay.
Maybe North Bend knows a little more about a ramekin of blackberries than he's telling us.
Yeah, he could have been in a contest that the chef judged when he was doing the culinary program at North Bend, and gotten the chef like ousted them or something unfair.
Judged by Paul. See, this is what I love about this process. Isn't it amazing how quickly you can think of a lot of reasons why people would be lying? Let's circle back to Haley for a second. I like the idea of the fact that she's lying about where she found the berries. Why? Why would she lie about where she found them?
Because she poisoned him.
Oh, well, you're already going for the killer. Okay. That's definitely a potential. All right.
And also, if she's lying about where she found them, where did she actually find them?
Right.
So that's sort of assuming she didn't kill him.
Right.
Or maybe
Protecting
murder on
someone.
the Orient Express.
I think she's lying about where she found the berries because she's trying to protect someone who.
Yeah, I think she is.
I like that train of thought, Jamie. Okay, love it.
I thought maybe she was doing something that she didn't want revealed that had nothing to do with the culinary show. And she had to account for her time.
Kay, do you watch and or read mysteries?
No.
You don't? That's the perfect red herring. That's exactly right. Like how do we misdirect the reader? How do we misdirect them to be like, well, obviously it's Haley. She came back, she was sweaty, she was flushed, she hid the berries, but no, maybe she's actually outside meeting up with, a secret lover who dropped off her lunch or something. I don't know.
And she's not sweaty. Which is hard to do in Coos Bay and North Bend.
Yeah. Everybody knows. I also thought it was interesting that Paul revealed that librarians know too much. I know there are more than 2, 3 librarians on this call. Do we agree that librarians know everyone's search history? This is tantalizing stuff.
What we don't know, we make up.
Exactly. Or we pretend like we know it.
He has time to track any one person's search history.
What was Paul searching that he's so worried about revealing? Might be one of the questions we ask.
Maybe NB is his son.
Ooh.
Oh.
Now we're talking NB. his real son.
Mayoral scandal, Anna Louise.
I love it. Okay, this gives us lots to work with. Okay, so the next question that I want everyone to think about, take a second. What would happen next? Okay, so the body has been found. He's clutching his neck. We know that he's not breathing. He's eaten this poison. What's the next thing that could happen in our story? I'm going to take some notes while you all think about that.
Well, someone should try CPR and somebody should be calling for help.
Okay, absolutely.
Well, maybe somebody is running away and trying to hide.
I love it. I don't know who just said that, but yes. Who's running away?
Oh,
I was gonna say NB is running away after he threw the berries in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
I think Drea's running away. Panic. She thinks she's losing her job.
in those heels? Are you kidding? I'm not running anywhere.
The person who wears those heels needs to know how to run in them. You can't run in them, you shouldn't be wearing them.
That's my motto too. You can't fight in them.
I always think that about police procedurals. I can't say that word. They always have the female detectives running in these 8-inch heels or something. Like, come on, who can do that? Not me, but maybe. I like it. Okay, so we're gonna have someone's gonna call the police. Someone's gonna get help. The police are probably gonna show up. And then
Drea was probably calling the lawyer. She's got a lawyer, the chef's got a lawyer. That's probably who she's calling.
Okay. I like that. So Drea, instead of calling the police, is calling her lawyer. That's not suspicious.
BYA,
Was this program being sent out live or were they recording it?
I think both.
Someone running away would be an excellent red herring.
Definitely. Yeah.
The program is being recorded, right? Because we have different parts for where the berry comes in and stuff, right? It's not a live broadcast, is it? Of Paul Al Dente?
because he says cut at that one point because he wants to, yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh, you're asking about this. I thought you were talking about this program. It's too
this one's
right now. That's good.
I think NB would surreptitiously turn the camera back on and video this.
Ooh, yeah. Turns the camera. Okay, I like this. Okay, so let me, so somebody's gonna, they're gonna try CPR, they're gonna call for help while they're waiting for the police to show up. NB runs to throw the berries in the trash. Actually, first, NB's gonna turn the camera back on to document everything. And then he's gonna run and throw the berries in the trash. Meanwhile, Drea is on the phone calling her lawyer. We need Haley to be doing something. What's Haley doing?
Amy's the assistant, right?
Yeah, Haley is the
well,
library director who's running the show.
Oh, okay. I was
she's probably calling the police.
Yes. So, okay. So we have, in my mind, Sammy, who is our sleuth, can take the lead on calling the police. Unless, actually, this is going to be a good question. So show of hands, or you can say it in the chat. Do we want to have Sammy be another suspect, or do we just want her to solve our crime? You can raise your hand for yes, We want her to be a suspect.
She's sweet and innocent though, so.
Says Sammy. Or no, raise your hand. No, we've got Jane says not a suspect. No. Okay, all right. So let's have, I agree. So Sammy is, we're following the rules of a cozy too. If you're reading a cozy, you know that the sleuth at certain points in time is going to be put in peril, is going to be put in harm's way. They might even get, like knocked out, hit on the head at some point, perhaps tied up, but they're always going to be okay. So Sammy, and they're never the killer. Although I have thought it would be funny, like when you end a series, to have someone unexpected, maybe not the sleuth. In my bake shop, it could be Richard Lord. Her nemesis could be the killer for all of them or something. Okay, so Sammy is gonna try to perform CPR and call for help. We've got NB turning on the camera, running away. Drea's calling her lawyer. So then, yeah, what is Haley doing?
Haley's strangely moving everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's fussing and moving everything. She's messing with the scene.
Moving the set. Tampering with the scene of the crime.
She's a tamperer.
Or she could, you could be tampering and just have nervous energy. It doesn't have to be.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody could knock the camera down.
Ooh, I like that.
Like trip on it, or intentionally or unintentionally.
Uh-huh.
And then does it record something that it shouldn't have seen?
Yeah.
That?
Yeah, Sammy knocks it over when she goes to do CPR.
Oh yeah.
Thanks a lot, Tammy.
Is this fun for everybody to start making your brain work like this? I have been addicted. I was talking about this on my live last week to this show called Songland. It's on Hulu. So if you can find it, go watch it, because it's all about the process of how songwriting happens. And it's this whole collaboration amongst, pretty famous songwriters, professional songwriters, and then artists who come in and they're looking for new music. And it's the gamut of music, every genre is represented. But I just love it because I think it's the first time I've ever seen something from a writing angle that peels back this layer of like how you build a story, and you take one little seed of an idea and you go, oh yeah, oh this happens, oh wait, and then we can go here and here and here. I think more people should do it.
I agree.
Okay, so let's recap. All right, I'm gonna do a quick recap. We're good for time. So we've got, I want to talk back through what everybody's lying about, and if as we've been talking you think of anything else, I'll add it to the list. So Haley is lying about where she found the blackberries. That could either, someone suggested that she's lying about the fact that she used to date Paul. She could be lying about why she could be lying about the blackberries because she's trying to protect someone, or it could be because she's had something that she doesn't want anyone else to know about going on outside while she's looking. Drea has been long suffering in her agenting relationship with Mr. Al Dente. She's lying about her hair color and her prior experience. And she's extremely irritated to have to be in a small town and dealing with Paul's very inflated ego. And then NB could be lying about whether he's really been away at college, or if he went to college at all, which college he went to. He could be lying about the fact that he's not quite so vulnerable, that maybe he's tougher. He could have potentially gone to the culinary school program at North Bend, where he had a previous altercation with Mr. Al Dente, who judged his food to be terrible. And the last but not least possible scenario for him is that Al Dente is actually his real father. So there is a major scandal brewing in town. How does that sound? Good. Any other thoughts, coming up for that? Okay. All right, so then we're gonna fast forward and we are gonna say that Sammy has sprung into action. She has tried reviving him. She's performing CPR. It's not working. She calls frantically for help and learns that the police are on their way. As she goes to grab her cell phone, she accidentally knocks down a camera, which NB had actually turned back on because in the back of his mind, he wants to document everything that's happening. Meanwhile, he grabs the berries and runs off with them, while Drea is pacing back and forth on her black heels, chatting with her lawyer about what's gone down. And Haley is moving everything on the set. She's picking up the microphones and all of the props, the wooden spoon. She has all this nervous energy, but she is completely tampering with the scene of the crime. The police show up and tell everyone to freeze, to put down the wooden spoon, do not touch anything. And then Sammy is going to confront each of our three suspects. So let's first have her confront Haley. What is she gonna go say to Haley? She's gonna say to Haley, what are you doing? Why are you like walking around and touching everything? And Haley is going to answer, I don't know. You tell me.
The set is messy.
I love it. Okay.
And we will lose our deposit at Shore Acres if it's damaged or if we've stained it. And there's blackberries everywhere.
Right. Okay.
And she has to account for all the equipment.
Uh-huh.
Maybe she has been involved as a suspect in a murder before.
Oh, okay. I like it. Okay, I think that gives us enough to work with Haley. And then how about Drea? Drea's hung up with the lawyer, and after Sammy like touches base with Haley, Drea comes up to her, and then what happens?
I want to know why she has blackberries all over the bottom of her black heels.
Ooh, okay.
Suspicious.
It's August.
I
On
want
the
to know-
coast, there's blackberries everywhere.
I want to know what the lawyer said.
Yeah, I like that.
Wouldn't she be threatening to sue everybody? Those are the type, right?
Uh-huh.
The lawyer is probably saying, say nothing. And is getting local counsel for her. Well, not for her. She's not guilty, but you know.
Where is she?
Why did she call the lawyer? Was it for herself or was it to protect the library?
Herself.
Yeah, CYA, baby.
Yeah.
The library can get their own lawyer, okay?
Forget the books.
Maybe Drea wants to find out who the chef left his money to.
Mhm. Who inherits Paul's estate?
Working with him for how long?
Obviously, NB
Ungrateful.
inherits the estate.
Who does?
NB inherits the estate because he's the child.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So that's good. We've got stuff to work with there. So now Sammy's gonna have to chat with NB. Does she need to go find him? Does he come back in?
I think he comes back.
Okay.
And I think, well, in the process, maybe he had seen Andrea and found out that he inherited everything, which is why he came back.
I love it.
Because he is the chef's son.
Yes.
And maybe Drea knew this and knew that that meant he was going to inherit. Maybe those blackberries were meant to kill NB.
Oh,
Maybe those were the wrong blackberries that Haley came back with. Thanks a lot,
Yes.
Haley. And so she's on the phone to the lawyer who's also, oh, sorry.
Yes, this is brilliant.
But he can't inherit if he's convicted, so she could be scheming.
Maybe the berries are not poisonous at all.
Okay.
Maybe it's the spices.
That was going to be my next question. You got there beautifully on your own. I love it. So when we work in misdirection, we're going to assume that the berry that he ate in front of everybody is the poison, but let's not forget that he was baking and there's a beautiful, luscious blackberry cobbler ramekin just sitting there. So that yes, thank you for setting that up. That was going to be my next question.
Maybe it was supposed to be a massacre of everybody because somebody hated libraries and people who read books.
Yeah, but this isn't one of those Swedish death mysteries where everything's dark.
Oh, wait a minute, this is cozy, isn't it?
The cozy, yeah.
The library's just taking a beating though. I love it. Oh no. Okay. I lost my train of thought there because that was so brilliant. All right. Well, I'm going to recap this section before we go. What I think I'm going to do with this one, because we're going to have so much going on that we're building this story as we go, like a choose your own adventure, but I will write this up and send it to you if you want to share out a final then, Drea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we know, so after the police have come, they have said, hands off everybody. This is a crime scene. Stop touching stuff, Haley. Move away from the body. We've got it. No one leave. Sammy goes up to Haley and is like, what is going on? You're moving everything. And Haley says, no, it's nervous energy and the set is messy and we have to get our deposit back. I'm worried about accounting for all this equipment that we brought over. My job is on the line. And a while back, I was actually involved in another crime scene. I've been a suspect before, and I think it triggered all that anxiety. So Sammy's like, okay, well, you stay put. The police are going to do their part. And meanwhile, she goes up to Drea and confronts Drea because while Drea has been on the phone with the lawyer, immediately she's been traipsing back and forth all over these beautiful historic wood floors, leaving blackberry stains from the bottom of her shoes. And when Sammy has a confrontation with her, she immediately says that she's going to sue the library system, that this is absolutely not in her contract, and then secretly reveals that she has learned who is inheriting Paul's estate. Okay. Sammy's feeling the angst of this. She's wondering about NB, he disappears, and then suddenly he pops back in because he has learned that he is actually going to inherit the entire estate. His whole world has been turned upside down in this 5 minutes because not only has he just learned that Paul Al Dente is his real father, but he has lost his real father in this same moment. So the poor kid is definitely shaken. And then as Sammy is trying to piece together all of these clues from these 3 suspects, aside from Drea, 2 colleagues whom she doesn't want to have be involved in this actual murder, the police officer in charge says, ladies and gentlemen, I need you to understand that the poison was not in the individual berry, but it was actually in the cobbler. And we do not think it was intended for Mr. Paul Al Dente. Okay. All right. How are we feeling?
No one liked him. He should die.
Okay. So next we need to eliminate 2 of our suspects.
As in eliminate?
Well, if we want to go dark, I mean, to Kay's point, we could turn this into, a Swedish style, the girl with dragon tattoo, big massacre, or we can keep it cozy. It's up to you. Either way, eliminate in my mind means we're going to, two of our suspects are going to reveal something to Sammy that show why they are not the killer.
Right.
Maybe Drea reveals that she's NP's mother and that she was just trying to protect him throughout all this.
I love it.
Well, and Haley can now say that she was gone that whole time he was baking that, so it couldn't have been her.
Yeah.
But she does have to reveal she was meeting somebody by the cliffside.
Right, okay.
I think that the way, not how to eliminate two, but to find the one who was killed, it is the one who is who did the killing. It's the one who is gluten intolerant and therefore would not be eating any of the cobbler.
Love it.
Oh, celiac, you special blessing you.
Where did he get the blackberries to begin with? Who
Jane, good question. Yeah, we don't know.
It went into the cobbler.
Mm-hmm.
They determined that's where the poison was.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so our possibility is that Drea reveals that she's actually NB's mother as well, and she's trying to protect her only child. Haley reveals that there's no way that she could have done it because she wasn't even involved in the process of baking. She was out looking for the berries, and she's also revealing that the reason that it took her so long and she's kind of flushed is because she was having a secret meetup with her her love. Okay. What about NB? Do we have anything we want him to reveal? Does anyone have a thought on who the killer might be out of these three suspects?
I'm thinking NB.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking he knew who his parents were. And yeah, and that he was hiding that from everybody and waiting for the opportunity to kill his father because he knew he would get the inheritance.
And because he had humiliated him in that
Yes.
cooking thing. Ever since then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if he hadn't given him up, it wouldn't have been such a weird name.
Susan, will you say that again? You cut out.
If his real father hadn't given him up at birth so that the mayor had him, he wouldn't have had such a weird name.
Yes, he's harbored ill will for 25 years over having to be named NB. Yes, okay. Any other thoughts?
Pretty sure, Ellie, that NB is short for Nutter Butter because he's crazy. Somebody has to make that joke in the book.
Okay.
And this has nothing to do with removing people, but if we're going to stick to the title, we've got nothing right. So somebody needs to throw some blackberries into the ocean. Whether that's what NB does, or Haley's really run out to do that and replace them, or whatever. Whoever we do that, some have to end up in seawater.
Yes, well, we covered the wined, dined, and brined in how he makes the initial cobbler. I got to get to that section. Let's see. He adds, wait for it, cinnamon, cardamom. I have to have cardamom in everything I do. Lemon and orange. He added a touch of flake sea salt, a healthy sprinkling of sugar, and then he macerated the berries in red wine and steeped them in more salt and citrus. So there you have it. So that could be, if that was actually the murder weapon, we've looped in the title too, which is pretty killer.
So could the red wine been poison?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so we've got Drea revealing that she is NB's real mother and she just is trying to protect him. Hence why she's immediately on the phone with the lawyer. That kind of wraps up that storyline for us, because she's trying to figure out, like, is there anything else I need to do? How do I protect his estate? We have Haley revealing that she could not have been involved at all because she was gone searching for the berries. And the reason that it took her so long is because she had a little meetup at the beautiful cliffside with her paramour. And then we have the big reveal, which is that NB knew all along who his parents really were. He did a deep dive while he was at OSU. He did go to Oregon State. That wasn't a lie. And he did a lot of work in genealogy and found his roots, because he never felt an affinity to the name NB. He never felt an affinity to North Bend itself. And so when he learned that Paul Al Dente and his agent / perhaps former lover, Drea, were going to be in town for the Blackberry Arts Festival, he knew that this was his opportunity to exact his revenge for them giving him up without a thought, for the awful treatment he received when he was in high school culinary school, before he knew that he even had a connection to Paul Al Dente. And most importantly, for having to live with the name NB, who his friends in college nicknamed him Nutter Butter because he would consume copious amounts of Nutter Butter cookies to try to stay up to keep his sugar high going while he studied for finals. He's harbored ill will for decades over that, and it was time to make sure that Paul Al Dente did not live to see another day. All right, now we gotta have a.
How did he feel about his mother? Was he trying to knock her off too?
That is a great question, Kay. Yes. So now we need to know how it wraps up. This has all come out on camera. The cameras are still rolling. This is going to be the Pastry Channel's biggest hit ever. This is going to go viral. But the police are on the scene. So does NB, hold out his hand and get cuffed and go willingly? Or is there something else? Does he take that wooden spoon or that fillet knife and make a move for Drea? Does he run? Does he plunge to his death on the cliffside? I don't know. What do y'all think?
I think Drea says something to him.
Mm-hmm.
Does he drag her to the cliffside and throw her off?
Didn't she at least grab some rhododendrons along the way?
Does he take her? That's what you're thinking. He takes her as like his prisoner. Any other thoughts?
And then she trips and they both fall off the cliff.
Oh, tragic.
Or she uses her spike heel in the end and gets him in the foot and he goes off and she lives.
There it is.
He's dragging her to the cliffs and they're trying to, as they go to catch him, he throws her into the little pond and then he goes over the.
Can you say the last part again?
There's a door back to the cliffs in 4 acres and there's a pond right there. So as they're trying to capture him, he's dragging him down because he's holding on to her while he's trying to get away. So he throws her in the pond so they have to save her and he goes out the back door.
Oh.
Back gate, it's a gate.
A sequel.
Could there be something with the tides?
Oh.
Yeah, let him go down and hide in the cave down on Simpson Beach.
This is off topic, but
The tide comes in, they can capture him that way.
I was saying this is off topic, but nothing has happened to harm or threaten Sammy yet. And you said that had to happen.
And that's okay. We're good.
She'll get it. She'll get hers. Oh, Haley's lover snapped a picture of them. They were down at Simpson Beach and snapped a picture of the two of them. So there's a timestamp on it. She does indeed have an alibi that's pretty solid. So I thought I should throw that in.
And
But yeah, that came
quickly.
that cave is a good place for Sammy to confront our killer.
Yeah, I think so too. And they're trapped in there by the high tide. And it's just a matter of whether somebody comes to get them before the tide gets them.
God, that's a terrible place to confront the killer. You're gonna get trapped.
I know. Oh, but it's
What were you thinking?
I always shout at the characters. I'm like, don't leave without your cell phone. What is wrong with you?
Totally. I was laughing with a friend of mine who is another like very prolific mystery writer, and she was saying, you know, in hindsight, we should have written like the Sue Grafton way, where you never age a character past like the 80s because it's too easy. Like everybody has a cell phone, like anywhere you go now, it's too easy to not put them in peril. Okay, so this is what I'm feeling. The police, you know, NB has this big reveal. He has this moment for the camera where he confronts his mother. He confesses that he's done it all. He's planned this in advance. He poisoned the wine ahead of time, knowing that Paul was going to eat it, thinking that perhaps Drea usually comes and tastes everything too as part of her role as his manager agent. The police start to try to take him, but he grabs the fillet knife and Drea and races for the cliffside. They get to the edge of the cliff. There's an altercation. They're fighting back and forth. Drea, in a moment of panic, grabs her heel and knocks him on the side of the head, enough to startle him. She sprints the other way. Meanwhile, NB races down to the beach and takes off to the cliffs. Now, Sammy, not being as smart as she should be, decides that the police are going after Drea because they see Drea running that way and they assume that she's now trying to track her son down, that she's the one doing the chase, when in reality, NB has gone the opposite direction. But as Sammy came outside, she saw it. She saw him sprint off. And so she runs after NB, assuming that the police are following her too, and they're not. NB runs into the cave. She runs after him, thinking the cavalry's coming, when in reality, the tide is coming in. And she's standing outside the rocky cave as what? What's our last thing that happened?
I think a giant wave comes.
Uh-huh.
Sammy makes it to shore, and our NB is never seen again.
There it is.
But we don't know what happens to him. And there's a contingency in the will that if NB's not found after so many years, the library inherits.
There it is.
Sammy's gonna get that new building built one way or another.
NB isn't found. Okay, I love it. Library inherits. There it is. Yes, so Sammy feels the rush of the tide. She knows this area well, though, because this is a spot that she hikes all the time. So as she sees the waves, you know, really gaining momentum, she makes a quick escape and then watches as NB is dragged out into the surf, never to be seen again. Or maybe he is in part 2. We'll have to see. And the library ends up inheriting the estate and partners with the Pastry Channel to do Blackberry murder every year after that.
Andrea.
Yes, Andrea.
Yes, that she is part of that every year show.
Yes, she comes back to honor the memory of Al Dente and their son.
The guy who didn't leave her any money. Oh yeah, she's racing back every year for that.
And bakes his signature cobbler as an homage to their memory. Yes.
And it's really bitter, a really bitter cobbler.
Yeah.
And she never opens the wine bottle until the exact moment she's ready to go.
I love it.
I'm thinking that
And yet all the wine is gone before the cobbler is out of the oven.
well, I'm wondering how they guarantee anybody who tastes this is willing to be the first person to take a bite.
Right. Yeah.
Considering-
No one on the coast ever eats blackberry cobbler again.
Yeah,
There it is. That's better.
NB doesn't care.
The economy of
Ah.
Oregon crashes.
Totally. Oh my goodness. Well done, everybody. Nicely done.
Yes, thank you so much.
So fun.
Some
Brilliant
point
minds.
We're in this story. We should have Drea say something like, "NB, you don't understand. We had to give you up because Al Dente was going to name you Tony." And NB goes, "What's wrong with that? Tony's a nice name." She goes, "No, it's short for rigatoni."
Yes. No. I love
And
it.
when you're named Drea, you know there's a line, there's a limit to what you can do to a name before someone snaps.
I'm telling you.
Not bad.
Thank you. It was terrible, but thank you.
That's the joy of the cozy, you know, especially with the puns on the title. They're so bad that they're good.
Yes, well, I believe what your next one out is now what is that called again? The next one out?
The next one coming out is titled Mocha She Wrote.
Yes. So
Yeah.
living up to your own statement here.
Yes, absolutely.
And also giving you a chance to plug the book.
Totally. And the Pastry Channel is actually a fake TV show that I had in one of the first books that first appeared in Meet Your Baby, or no, in A Batter of Life and Death. So there are multiple little Easter eggs hidden in this gem that we just created together. I can't do this as well without you. So I guess from here on out, anytime I need to plot a new book, we're all going to do this together. Yeah. Yeah. You guys good? Okay, good. No, but seriously, like it's so much fun. And I love this level of energy building and watching where the story goes and somebody taking someone else's idea and bringing it to life. So thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. That was fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Ellie, thank you so much for coming. It has been a great week for Tidal Wave, a great couple of weeks for Tidal Wave. And we want you to come back anytime you want to come back, quite frankly. And on behalf of the Coastline Library Network, thank you all so much for coming. And we hope that the Facebook audience out there is going, yay, in their screens right now.
Thank you. This has been fun from the other side of the United States.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
And Dre and Sammy, thank you for letting me borrow your names too.
Much appreciated.
I will send over the final version this week.
And we will post it.
Awesome. Okay, happy plotting, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.